Hi everyone, welcome to Maximum Attack Rallying and to your Thursday dose of rallying nonsense, and that's a very appropriate word because today's video is very speculative and me just chatting what could indeed be nonsense. And I wanted to do this after some of the comments I received following the Rally Estonia preview. Obviously that rally was won by Oliver Solberg, very fine performance from him, and it's got lots of people talking, hasn't it, about whether he will get a Rally 1 seat either this season or next season, and that got me thinking, who is he going to replace? I did touch on this in the last video a little bit, but I want to try and answer this question: who is in danger? Has Oliver Solberg's performance in Estonia put anyone into the firing line? Who should be worried? I think a few of the drivers are probably sitting there thinking, ooh, he's come along and he's won a rally. What does that mean for my future? And I think there are a few drivers that should be worried. So there's a couple that I'm going to pick out. They might surprise you, they might not. I suspect they probably won't, I don't know. But let's talk through those in a second. Firstly, I am going to mention a couple of names that I do not think are in danger. First of those is Elfyn Evans. A few people I've seen on socials have said that Evans is possibly in danger next season. I just don't see that happening. I get it. I think you could say, well, he hasn't shown the raw pace of Solberg in Estonia, but we should remember, of course, that Estonia was one rally. One rally does not a champion make. But I think you have to consider Evans' record. You know, yes, his middle part of this season has not been the best, but you just look at his record over the last few seasons. You know, he's finished second in the championship multiple times, hasn't he? I think since 2020 he's finished second in the championship every year apart from one. So that's not a bad record, is it? And if you look at it in terms of Toyota's situation, he is a major point scorer for that team. You know, he brings home points regularly, and in manufacturer championship terms, that is so important, isn't it? So he is a regular point scorer, regularly challenging for rally wins and always right in the mix, and I just don't see why they'd get rid of him. He is, even if you say that he's never going to be world champion and he doesn't win enough rallies, his raw pace isn't enough. If you look at him as a points banker, I think he is probably one of the best drivers in the championship. He is always there, always solid enough to deliver points, and you know, he is a good, important part of the reason why Toyota have had so much success. So I do not think Elfyn Evans is in any danger. Josh Maline, I don't think he is either. Opposite end of the scale to Evans, obviously much less experience, but he is very much learning. This is his first year in the car. He's got good support from Motorsport Ireland. So for me, I think he's quite safe in his seat at M Sport. I don't see him going anywhere. Other drivers, I'm going to touch on Martin Sesks. I think although he's not doing a full-time season, I will just give him a mention because I don't see Solberg being a threat to him. I just think, again, you know, Sesks had an explosive start last year to his Rally 1 experience, didn't he? Performed very well on his first couple of outings. Hasn't been quite so strong since, but I think he's got good enough support. He's still doing things part-time, so I think there will be a spot for him at M Sport next season, provided he can bring some money. So I don't think that is a big issue. There is someone else I want to mention, Adrian Formeau. I think you could argue that he is one of those drivers, but I haven't really seen anyone talk about him, but for me, I think he's safe. I don't think he's worthy of even mentioning, really, so I don't know why I did. But I think, you know, he's just first year with Hyundai and he's doing good enough, showing enough speed. I think they're going to give him a bit of time. Similarly, Sami Pajari's just switching back to Toyota. I don't have any concerns about him, really. I do kind of get why someone might mention it. He hasn't been fantastic this season, but we have to remember his relative lack of experience. So, you know, this is his first full year in the car. He is building, isn't he? I think the thing we have to remember with drivers like Pajari, Maline, is that it takes time, doesn't it? You can have these explosive talents like Kalle Rovanperä, Oliver Solberg, who come along and do amazing things. But that isn't generally how it works for WRC drivers. It takes a bit of time. Experience is super, super important. You have to learn the rallies, you have to learn the car, you have to learn pace notes and all of this stuff. So generally it takes a bit of time. So I think Pyari, I think given his relationship with Toyota, I think he's solidly embedded with that team. So I don't think he has any major worries and will be given time to develop. That, though, brings us to the two men that I believe are most at risk. And I think one of these is a bit difficult to judge because there are some other factors behind the scenes, but I think both of these are probably the drivers that should be the most worried. Though, again, I say one of them has some things behind the scenes, perhaps both of them do, that have some things in their favour. So I am going to start with the man at Toyota, and that is Takamoto Katsuta. Now, the thing that helps him, the behind the scenes thing I just mentioned, is the fact that he is Japanese, and I think Toyota are very, very keen to have a Japanese driver in their lineup. Now, for Katsuta, I think that has offered him a lifeline. But I think we also saw last season that it doesn't guarantee everything. So he was benched, wasn't he? Was it for Rally Chile last year after some poor performances? That did actually help him. He came back a bit stronger after that. But it shows, doesn't it, that he is not a man who is going to be given unlimited leeway. And he has shown this year once again that while there is flashes of speed, there is not the consistency, not always the mental fortitude perhaps to bring the car home and to get that super strong result. So I think Katsuta is capable of winning rallies. I think he has shown the speed, but there is still something missing. And he's been in the car a while now, hasn't he? He has been given plenty of opportunity, and it could just be that maybe Toyota can fulfill that role of having a Japanese driver with him in the car part-time. You know, if he does Rally Japan and a couple of others, that might be enough. So that gives potentially a window of opportunity for someone like Solberg to come through and get a part-time program in the Rally 1 car, and for Toyota to still have that Japanese driver that they crave in the team. So I think that is potentially problematic for Katsuta. It's a real shame, isn't it? Because he's a lovely guy for a start. You know, he's a lovely guy. But I think what we've seen is that while, as I said, there are flashes of speed, something is not quite there. For me, I don't know, maybe he just needs a bit more coaching and mentorship. Maybe he needs to find the right performance coach that can just help him to level up. You know, we've seen speed, we've seen podiums, he's had second places. So he's come close, but things just haven't quite added up. That final little bit just to get him over the line and get him to be in a rally winning condition. So I think there's still hope for Katsuta. I don't think he's ever going to be a world champion, but the pressure is ramped up now, isn't it? Toyota have got this Solberg card in their back pocket, and that ramps the pressure up even more. Obviously, you've still got drivers coming through the Toyota Challenge program, so we are going to have more Japanese drivers as a potential threat, which adds even more pressure. So I think the stakes are getting higher and higher for Katsuta. I don't think he's on the brink right now, but if this level of performance continues as we go through the second half of the season, I think that could become problematic for him, and he could be at greater and greater risk. That brings us to the last one then. Who is the other main man in danger? And for me, that has to be Gregoire Monster. Now, you could level the argument that Monster is not super experienced and deserves more time in the mould of Sami Pyari and Josh Maline, and I understand that argument. I think the problem for me is that I just don't know if we have seen the level of performance that is enough to keep Monster in the WRC full-time. I don't know. I think he has some things in his pocket. Obviously, I guess he must be bringing some funding or sponsorship to the team to get that seat. I know M-Sport obviously like to develop young drivers, but there's obviously some element of that relationship that is helpful for M-Sport. I think the other thing that's in his favour, not directly but indirectly, is that obviously Solberg has a strong relationship with Monster Energy, and Ford have a strong relationship with Red Bull, not just in terms of WRC but obviously with Formula 1, because they've got this Red Bull powertrain, Ford Motorsport Performance, whatever you want to call it, thing in Formula 1. So there is a strong Red Bull link between M-Sport and Ford, which could keep Solberg out of that team, and I think that is probably a bigger factor than anything directly related to Monster in a way. But I think there is still this danger, isn't there? Maybe not even necessarily from Solberg, but from another driver that can come in and say, well, hold on, I've got the budget here and I can offer you X, Y, Z in terms of performance. So I think it's tricky for Monster. He has shown some development. I don't want to be too critical. You know, he got his first stage win in Monte Carlo, but he hasn't been on the podium before. And I think for me, unfortunately for Monster, you know, as I said earlier on, you know, in traditional terms, a WRC driver would be given a longer time period to develop. But I think we're now starting to reach a point where you've got these hot shots coming through. You know, we've had Kalle Rovanperä, we've had Oliver Solberg, you know, even Martin Sesks. They've come along very, very quickly. They've shown really, really impressive pace. And that increases the pressure on a driver like Monster, who might want a bit more time to develop. You know, if you look back in the past, Elfyn Evans, for example, it was a long time before he won a rally, but he was given time to develop, wasn't he? And I think, unfortunately for Monster, that is going to become increasingly difficult, because it seems that we're in an era where young drivers are coming through and instantly showing that they're very, very fast indeed. So maybe in Monster's case, it's not directly Solberg who's a threat, but I think it's the drivers like Solberg, you know, your Sesks and others who are coming through and showing that they can jump in the car and instantly be fast and instantly be on the pace. And I think Monster hasn't shown that. And my worry for Monster is that while he has developed, he's maybe not developing quickly enough. You know, we've seen Josh Maline, he finished ahead of Monster in Estonia. I know Monster had a puncture on Friday, which complicated things a little bit, but that's not the first time that he's been beaten by Maline this year. And I just worry that eventually time is going to run out for Monster and someone else is going to come along with the backing, like I said, and potentially usurp him. So those are my two main picks who should be worried. I think the big issue here, as always, is that there are just not enough seats, isn't it? You know, what is the big tragedy is that we've only got 3 teams, only 2 of those are factory teams. One of those factory teams is potentially on the way out and seems intent on only running 3 cars rather than giving opportunities in 4th or 5th cars, which Toyota are obviously doing, and even M Sport are doing in a way, aren't they, with having cars available for hire. So I think that is ultimately the problem, isn't it? There just aren't enough seats to go around, which is a real shame. And I think we can only hope that we get more seats available in the future, and that will give more opportunities to a driver like Solberg, who comes through and wows everyone, or even to the guys like Katsuto and Monster, who just need a bit more time to develop. So that is the overwhelming tragedy of this, isn't there? That there just aren't enough teams and aren't enough seats. But I will stop rabbiting on. Let me know in the comments below who you think could be in danger, whether you think Solberg is ready and deserves that seat, and who he should take it from. Let me know below. Otherwise, hit that like and subscribe button, follow me over on socials, and I will see you again next time.